Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, breaking down Penn State. We bring on Tim Aiden on a regular basis. You can catch him and the rest of the staff there at SB Nation on BlackShoeDiaries.com. If you love college football, even if you're not a Penn State fan, that's a good place to be to cover and keep updated with one of the best programs in the country. And speaking of which, we seem to run into dead ends of negatives in anything we discuss these days concerning college football and pretty much life in general, except hey, let's move on to recruiting, where there's a lot of hope, a lot of promise, a lot of good news for Penn State football, both in 2021 and even especially in 2022, where the class, sure, the rankings, the ratings don't mean a whole lot, but they're off to a tremendous start in picking up some top flight talent. So first, if you can give us any kind of information or comment on Jamari Budden, the outside linebacker who committed here in the last month, for the 2021 class. He's a linebacker out of Michigan.
Budden, four-star linebacker out of Michigan. It's a guy that's supposedly been leading Penn State for a while, but Michigan and Michigan State were both in hot pursuit of him. And, in the end, I think maybe getting a couple of his fellow Michiganders in the King twins, Kobe and Kalen, and also, Jalen Reed, another four-star safety. Perhaps those guys are all in his ear, telling them to keep that Michigan to Penn State pipeline going. So maybe that won him out in the end. But it's a solid get. I think he can go on to be a perhaps end up starting for a year or two down the road, and before that even just be a key contributor out in the rotation. So it's a great pickup. As far as 2021 class, I mean, it is kind of low. It is surprisingly lower ranked. It's 30th right now in the composite rankings in 24/7. But part of that's because they've only have 13 commitments, and they are going to end up with a smaller class than usual. They're probably going to take about 4, maybe 5 more guys. So other names to keep an eye out for: Dejon Warren, JUCO cornerback out of Lackawanna Community College in Penn. So that's become a real JUCO pipeline for James Franklin over the last several years. Jaquan Brisker, senior safety, was the latest star to be recruited out of there. And so, and it seems like crystal balls have all seem to point towards Warren committing to Penn State ultimately. Derek Davis Jr., blue chip safety, 4-star safety out of Pennsylvania. It's believed to be a Penn State-Ohio State battle for him. Actually, he is the nephew of Penn State cornerbacks coach Terry Smith. And I think the family ties, may ultimately win out here. He's the latest crystal balls have him pointed towards Penn State, but Ohio State does linger around the picture. And I think the real big fish here that they're hoping to nab is Nolan Rucci, 5-star offensive lineman, top-rated recruit in PA. After missing on Julian Fleming last year, they don't want to miss out on the number 1 recruit in the state second year in a row, who they feel they should get. And I say it because he's a legacy kid. His dad, it's Todd Rucci, played offensive line for the Nittany Lions in the early 90s and later played for the New England Patriots for several years. He has an older brother, Hayden, who is a tight end on Wisconsin. He was not offered by Penn State. He's a little lower rated of a recruit compared to another tight end they brought in, Brenton Strange. That's 2019 class. So he ended up going to Wisconsin. And I know for a while it seemed like the momentum was with the Badgers, because I think being at home with his brother, he and his brother were both at home for a while. My understanding is his brother's back in Madison now. And he was recently, Nolan tweeted a picture of himself by the Nittany Lions shrine the other week on campus. And so that started some speculation again that, maybe momentum's with Penn State's perhaps shifting back towards Penn State, but it's looking like a Penn State-Wisconsin battle. But, Clemson's also lingering in the picture there. So could be any of those 3 schools. So we'll have to wait and see. Hopefully ends up choosing to follow in his dad's footsteps. So that's the 2021 class for you. And as I mentioned, 2022 off to a nice start. Most recently, they just got a commitment last night from Holden Staes, 4-star tight end out of Atlanta, Georgia. And it's actually the second tight end recruit already in this class. The other one being 4-star Jerry Cross out of Wisconsin. They were in the top 5 last I saw it with their 4 commitments. So you got the 2 tight ends, and you got another 4-star receiver out of Ohio, Caden Saunders. And then they also got a quarterback already, Bo Pribula, out of York, Pennsylvania. 6'2" kid. He's been compared to Trace McSorley, so not a bad comparison at all when it comes to trying to compare quarterbacks. My understanding is they're still going to try to pursue some like an elite type quarterback to maybe make a 2 quarterback class, but it's good that they at least got one already, and that could help them recruit some more offensive skilled players to join the class. Like that, it helps when they know they've got a quarterback who's going to throw them the rock, already committed to a class they'd be potentially committing to. So it's early, but things are definitely looking bright for 22.
Trace McSorley always going to be one of those names that's going to bring a smile to the face of any Penn State fan. So if you can make that connection, you've got one foot in the door with Penn State fans right there. Yeah, just run through the metrics on these guys. As you mentioned, Saunders out of Ohio, 6th rated player according to the 247 Sports Composite in the Buckeye State, 21st rated wide receiver. They're trying to keep up that line of tight ends with Gesicki and Freiermuth with Holden Staes and Jerry Cross, as you mentioned. A top 20 player in Georgia. My goodness, if people aren't adjusted to the Georgia metric of football players, it's fast becoming another Florida, Texas, California. So a top 20 player in the state of Georgia, regardless of position, is very high. 4th rated tight end, Cross the 6th rated tight end, top 6 player in the state of Wisconsin. And then you mentioned the quarterback, a dual threat, as he's rated right now out of York, Pennsylvania. Got Tim Maiden on the line covering Penn State football. We're hoping for a spring season. The Big Ten has made its decision on the fall.
Fingers crossed to get spring football. So,
absolutely, fingers crossed for Penn State and the rest of the Big Ten and the nation for some kind of football season, and we shall see what happens. Tim, we appreciate you stopping by.
Sure thing. Thanks for having me.